Thursday, April 27th to order. We respectfully acknowledge that we're meeting on the traditional and ancestral lands of the Coast Salish people. Adoption of the agenda. Moved by everyone. We like to do that again slowly. Moved by Trustee DeGroot, seconded by Trustee Thorne. All those in favor? Motion carries. Moving to Secretary Treasurer, Mr. Sankvist.
Thank you. This evening we're going to present the balanced 2017-2018 annual budget to the board. It is included in your package and certainly full of many different schedules. It's a consolidated budget, including the operating, capital, and special purpose funds. I'll just go through a couple of quick highlights on some of the pages here first before Rod and I will go through a summary of the contents. So we'll reverse this part. So this is the page I like. The major change you're going to see here is on the revenue column under Provincial Grants, Ministry of Education. So you're not that far down. It's actually the first dollar number. The top numbers are enrollment comparing 2018 to the 2017 school year, 2018 being an estimate. So you'll see a major change in the provincial grant from last year of $70,458,000 to $76,868,000. So the main reason for that change is the classroom enhancement fund of approximately $6 million. Other numbers remain relatively similar. Under other line item there, you saw last year it was $292,000 and this year it's $75,000, and that was because some money was brought in from BC Building Corp on the Mount Brevoux, called Mount Brevoux Build an Envelope project. So that $6 million that you see up on the ministry grant is also down under instruction, under expenditures, where you see it moves from $67 million to $73 million. So the majority of that funding on the classroom enhancement fund has shown up there. So specifically on the operating fund, I'll have Gina move a few more schedules in. I'm going to take you to page 10 of 16 of the agenda package, so it's page 7 for Gina there. That's the one. So here you see a summary of expenditures from the current year to next year. This is the operating budget. This does not include the classroom enhancement fund. So here we see an increase of approximately $600,000 for teachers, mainly wage increases. Would be the reason for that. The number of teachers increased by about 2 in the budget, in the operating budget, due to a slight increase in enrollment. Certainly some more in the principals and vice principals, as there's been some proposals in that area included in the budget. Education assistance is up between 2017 and 2018, and that's because there have been continually new hires throughout the year and needed to be reflected in 2017-2018 budget. Under support staff, that is predominantly wage increases, which were bargained previously, and those items are funded. If it's a wage increase, it has been funded by the province through an increase in the per pupil rate. Small amounts in other professionals. That's the addition of the communications officer that you see there. And then substitutes is down a bit. When we have the 17 amended budget, it includes any rollovers, any money that's left over from the previous year. We don't start out with this 2017-2018 budget making assumptions that there's money left over in accounts that will roll over to the next year. So sometimes the numbers are a little higher in the 16-17 budget than they are in the 17-18. So employee benefits, in the last year, that was about 23.6%. Of salaries, and in the year coming, 24.09%. So that reflects that $400,000 that was arrived after the first look at the budget for increased extended health and dental rates. So for total salaries and benefits in the operating budget, up from $68 million to just over $70 million. Looking at services and supplies, you see all the comparisons there. Last year's budget, $8,054,000 when it included any items that were unspent from the previous year. Next year's budget at $7,671,000. So also included in the schedules are various details on each of those programs that feed into those categories. There'll be the next 2 pages. And I won't go through these in great detail, but the ministry asks for the budget document to be prepared, showing the different categories of construction, administration, operations and maintenance, and transportation and housing. And you can compare those totals to the previous years as well. In some cases, they're still overall estimates around where teaching staffing will end up. For example, which programs, whether it's library time or instruction or careers, but the total numbers are inclusive of all of the staffing. The next schedules that may be of interest are the special purpose funds, which probably come up sideways. Oh, they come up right way. These are the special purpose funds. Hard to see with all the grid lines that printed in this year's document. Last year's format looked a little cleaner than this year, but those are all the different funds that the board receives that have restrictions on how they can be spent. Again, the big one is the costume enhancement fund, which shows up there in the middle, where we're budgeting for $6,070,000. And the final page of the budget is to look at the capital fund, which, don't be alarmed that it shows a deficit. That's allowable. It's simply because the amortization of assets that are being depreciated over their life exceeds the revenue that's coming from the ministry that is being depreciated over. Not every asset is purchased with ministry funds, or there would be a direct match. Sometimes the assets are purchased with board funds, so the amortization still occurs on those assets. But the revenue at the top part that's being amortized is from anything that the ministry has paid for. So that count is always in deficit. So just want to make sure you know that that's allowable and not to be alarmed. So all those schedules were what were consolidated and show up on your page 5 of your agenda package and page 2. So moving to page 6 of your agenda package, page 3 of the budget document is the bylaw amount. So on Tuesdays, if you could just go back 2 more down to 1 pages, 1 more. That's it. So at Tuesday's Board Education and Business Committee, you saw a summary of the column under 2018 annual budget, which showed you the total expenses in the operating budget. It showed you the payment for the reduction of unfunded employee future benefits, all the expenditures coming out of the special purpose funds, most of that related to 3 big items: the Community Link Fund, the Classroom Enhancement Fund, and the school-based funding make up that total. The $360,000 is the funding that has been purchased out of the annual facilities grant, or the capital has been purchased out of the annual facilities grant, out of the operating portion. Under the capital fund, there's the expense for those amortization expenses that we showed you earlier, and that $26,000 is the purchase of some custodial equipment that would be committed out of the local capital fund if the budget is adopted. So having reviewed that, if there aren't any questions specifically about the preparation of these documents, the superintendent and I have a quick report to talk more about the content in more details. This is the numbers. There's more specifics underneath those numbers. This is the types of services that the budget is supporting, and we'd like to talk to you about those now.
Thank you, Jason. So, trustees, we are pleased to present 2017-2018 annual budget to the Board of Education this afternoon. The budget is a consolidation of operating, special purpose, and capital funds, and has been prepared in the form and containing the information required by the Ministry of Education. In developing this budget, the Board has worked hard to ensure an open process allowing for consultation and two-way communication, public awareness of the budget process and expenditure of public funds, that the budget aligns with the Board's strategic priorities, and that the feedback received from the public survey and liaison meetings was considered and implemented where appropriate.
The Ministry of Education announced the 2017-2018 operating funding estimate on March 15th and the classroom enhancement funding on March 24th. The first review of the funding announcements took place on March 28th, just over 4 weeks ago, at a special board education and business committee. And since that first meeting, so in 4 weeks, the board and or staff have issued a budget survey to collect public feedback, met with each of the partner groups separately in a liaison meeting, those are morning meetings, met with each of the partner groups collectively in the advisory committee, met with the students of the district student advisory committee, met with principals and vice principals at their meeting, met to review and debate budget options over 4 separate board education and business committee meetings, and held a meeting for the public to attend and comment, although there wasn't attendance at that meeting. It was held for that opportunity. So I want to talk now a little bit about risk factors. The budget is the financial tool that the board has to provide educational programs to students over the next year. And in preparing the budget, the board must assess the level of risks that they are comfortable with. If the budget is prepared reflecting the worst case scenario on all accounts, such as utilities, worst winter, and I think we may have had that one, sick leave, we may also have had that one this year, and snow clearing, yep, that was on the list for this year as well. The board runs the risk of making reductions to student programs that were greater than necessary. If the board prepares a budget that reflects the best case scenario in all the variable accounts, they may not be prepared to deal with additional cost pressures. So in other words, you don't want to go too tight, but you also don't need to go too extreme. So it's a balancing of those different risk factors. The board is not permitted to end the year in a deficit position, so balancing those risks is really, really important. We believe that this budget contains a comfortable balance of risk. Looking at the annual operating component of the budget, so that's the $78 million piece that's up there before you. The board is required to prepare this entire document each year before June 30th. And practically speaking, for staffing purposes, the budget is adopted in early May to allow time for staffing implications to be implemented. Even more important this year with the Classroom Enhancement Fund and the complexities around that for timetabling, especially for the secondary schools, the importance of having that staffing number to those schools earlier than later is really critical this year. Balancing the shortfall of $979,000, which is where the second starting position was, recommendations were made in the following area: the appropriation of projected surplus, recognition of increased international program tuition rate, adjustments to interest and rental revenues, average teacher salary adjustments, district and school level administration, custodial equipment, custodial casual position, clerical additions, benefit premium changes, and absenteeism. So lots of things to be considered. Contained within the teacher allocation that you don't see the details of in this document that are not part of the Classroom Enhancement Fund. Through the teachers that have been allocated, the board is going to be able to increase support for learners with complex vision needs, so that's adjustments to time there, increasing occupational therapy time, and additional behavioral support. So within the allocation, within the annual operating budget, not looking to the Classroom Enhancement Fund, those improvements will be made.
So looking at the Classroom Enhancement Fund, a memorandum of agreement was reached between the BCTF and the provincial government and BCPC in the fall of 2016. It's important to remember this MOA is interim and will be in place until bargaining resumes and hopefully concludes in 2019. Let's be optimistic. The Classroom Enhancement Fund budget is a special purpose fund and can be found on Schedule 3A of the 2017-2018 annual budget. And there's 2 big components of that. Under the teacher component, approximately 60 teachers will be hired under this fund to address class size and composition issues. There will be additional library time, additional English language learner support, additional counseling time, and it's important to remember the district continues to supplement special education resource teachers in excess of the required ratios. For overhead and administration, we've looked at increased custodial time, the creation of an itinerant clerical position, in-service costs, absentee coverage, and increased costs for equipment and technology required to outfit those classrooms.
Brought forward from the 2016-2017 budget process, there are still some projects in progress. There is, under the board's strategic priorities, the creation of a charity foundation is a priority, and the district is proceeding with further expansion and promotion of the charity program through the creation of an education foundation. There's absence management. So data produced in prior years has indicated that SD 79 has a higher rate of absences for illness than the provincial average. The province has supported school districts with a grant to address absence prevention and wellness strategies. The district is in phase 3 of that initiative and working at the pace of BCPC. The board will continue to work with BCPC on the implementation of that wellness program.
So in conclusion, a great deal of work has been required to bring a balanced budget to the Board of Education this afternoon. And I would like to take this opportunity to thank and recognize the work by all senior staff on this, as well as our principals and vice principals who have really had to, we've all collectively had to work really hard in those short timelines to understand the implications of Bill 28, and there are significant ones to be able to prepare our schools for next year. And of course, Mr. Sankos won't be thanking himself, but Jason's leadership on this has been absolutely extraordinary, as always. Early on in the budget process, it was communicated that 90% of the district's budget is attributed to salary and benefits, in other words, to people. Through the strong financial management of the board, the district is able to draw upon the surplus balance with the 2017-2018 operating budget, resulting in the ability to maintain current staffing levels within the operating component of the budget. In other words, no layoffs, in fact, additions.
In closing, we would like to thank the board for meeting regularly and thoughtfully to move the budget forward while operating within a very short timeline. 4 weeks was a very short timeline for the complexities of this year's budget. Our appreciation goes out to the finance team, including Gina and Karen and Nicole, who worked to provide estimates and prepare a lot of the background materials that you saw throughout those 4 weeks. I also need to thank the rest of senior staff who provided feedback on the options and made budget discussions a priority. And with that, I believe we would now like to recommend that the board consider the budget as presented.
Thank you. So there is a motion connected on our front agenda for the 2017-2018 annual budget. The Board of Education gives first reading to the 2017-28 annual budget in the amount of $92,468,095. Made by Trustee Cox, seconded by Trustee Dolan. Open for debate. Not on the first. Oh, sorry. Yes. No debate on the first motion. Moving to the second reading. Pardon me? Okay, let's vote. All those in favor? Those opposed? Those abstaining?
Correct, and now we need to vote on this budget.
Okay, thank you. Moving to second reading. That the Board of Education gives second reading to the 2017-2018 annual budget in the same amount. Moved by Trustee Dolan, seconded by Trustee Doran. All of those ready to debate. Trustee Schmidt and then Trustee Hutchins.
So I'm still having some struggles with this, but I want to say thank you to staff for answering my questions, and sorry to say that I have some more, so that's why I'm not going to be able to support this budget yet, because I'm not done yet. But I do want to say that I have taken what we received last week out to the community to see what they're thinking, and looking at all of what we're getting back through restored language, and I see an opportunity. I see through, sorry, just carry this. Through my questions today, you know, how much counseling time we're gaining and everything else, it excites me, but I'm wondering if, I haven't been able to build a recommendation yet because I have to do some costing, so I'll need to talk to the Secretary Treasurer. However, I'm wondering if there's some compromise here. Some compromise within the admin position so that the support to senior staff, because I acknowledge, I heard the assistant superintendent talk to me the other night about her feelings and where they're at. I've heard that. But I also wonder if we have an opportunity to put back as well. I've been a trustee on this board and I've sat in this budget process for an awfully long time, and we've been taking an awful lot of stuff away. And I'm wondering if there may be some areas that we can compromise to maybe take advantage of those give backs and maybe add to. And some of the areas that I'm talking about is the one thing that came through clearly is the mental health issues in our schools. And I'm looking at the counseling time, and I'm seeing the increase in counseling time, and I'm wondering if maybe we can take advantage and play catch up and maybe increase it a little bit more. Don't worry, Jason, I've got a financial idea too. So I'm also looking at, you know, if we can increase some of our counseling time, maybe that can support our school-based teams that are going to be coming into play, and then that way they can actually be a part of those meetings, because at this point they can't be, or they are, but they're just not. There's just not enough time. I'm wondering if, you know, when we look at some of the stuff that went with the position, thank you to the superintendent for sending me that last night, what that position looks like. I'm wondering if maybe that position could be altered a bit and we can utilize some of our in-district people. I caught the tail end of a resource teacher named Jill Fergus, who did a fabulous workshop on kids with anxiety. So we do have these amazing people right in our district that maybe can support in different ways. I know I have to cost this out. I'm sorry that I can't vote on the budget today, but I still have 3 more meetings that I have to make sure that, you know, folks are comfortable with me voting for this budget, because community voted me in, so I do what I always do, and the chair and the vice chair both know that I do this. So I would like to bring a recommendation forward at the next, after I've costed it out with the Secretary Treasurer.
Thank you. Trustee Hutchins.
Well, first of all, I thought we changed our procedure so a trustee could not abstain. They don't raise their hand in favor, they actually vote no.
And I knew that. However, I thought I would give her leeway at this point. Was that your comment? Or
No, no. I just feeling uncomfortable about the last few days, and not to take away from the tremendous amount of work and actually unbelievable amount of work that's had to go in the last 4 or 5 weeks, you know, to adopt a budget. There was an announcement coming on March 15th, and the introduction of dozens of new staff and dozens of new classrooms. I mean, it's actually quite unbelievable. And I have always believed that our senior staff is stretched too thin. We need to invest in more senior staff to best serve this district and our children that we support. But I'm concerned about the process. So very late in the day, we had the introduction of district principal. I'm not saying we don't need it, but what I don't know is, in the whole realm of service, whether it's special service, student support services, is that the best investment we can make? Trustee Smith talked about the counseling services in the documentation of the speech pathologist. So whatever it is, I don't know that answer. And so it came late in the day. We haven't seen the scope of the challenges within that department, and so I'm just uncomfortable that we are approving tonight without that knowledge. But I will be supporting the budget. But I wish that the board had actually said, let's put a pause on this investment until we had a better understanding. Put the money in the budget for that department. Let's really get a clear understanding of the needs of the department and why senior staff are recommending that position.
Thank you. Trustee Coe?
My concern has been with the increase in the special needs categories that we've seen. I know other districts have something in place where they deal with a lot of this. for kids to be assessed could wait up to 1 year. And that concerns me because they'll move and they take the problem with them to another school. And some other teacher has to start all over. I thought when we were talking about creating a reserve bank to look at things that we might need in the future, that kind of made it easier for me to say what I'm saying. I support the budget, yes. I support everything everybody's done. But I'm sitting here because we said at one time, students first. And I have to think of those kids who could be dyslexic, those kids who could have a touch of autism, those kids that have high anxiety, a lot of things. And I get so frustrated that it always comes down, it's the teacher's fault. The teacher should have known this, that, and the other. My concern is for that student to understand. I have seen kids who have speech impediments. I have kids who I've talked to who have broken English. They need help. And when I seen the statistic number of 30%, that concerned me. That's an awakening call. And that's why I'm supporting this. And I understand the concerns that you have. And I love you guys. But I have to stand by what the staff has put together based on what they've gathered on information and things that we've said at this table. And that's my 2 cents worth. And I hope that we can all come to a conclusion. I understand that because Easter break fell in a different time this year, it threw a lot of us off. I think we should talk to God about that. It just made it seem like everything was faster this year. And we need to come up with a better plan. I wish we had more time to really go over a lot of the things, to look at add and subtract what we need and what we don't need. But this is the case being is everybody spent a lot of time on this. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Further comments? Trustee Crout?
I support the idea of the district principal, and the way I came to that was that because we have an increase in special needs students, there's more funding available for those programs. So that money is there, that's coming from the ministry. The same with the classroom education fund, that money is there, it's coming from the ministry. So I can understand the need for a district principal to roll out programs and to roll out resources, and the resources that teachers need and children need and parents need, and that's sort of a global process in the district. So I can understand the need, the necessity for a fairly senior position to make that happen. And I think that our special needs kids in that area need a little more than some other kids. And so that's another reason why I support having a district principal position, for the most part, dedicated to that. Although I do understand that inclusion, that global inclusion is a critical part of the picture, but we have to facilitate that, and that takes some good minds and good hearts, and we have that, and I can understand the leadership position to roll it out.
Thank you. Well, I put myself on the list, and first I'd like to acknowledge Trustee Hutchins' comment about feeling rushed, feeling that we haven't had time to really grapple, and Trustee Schmidt saying the same thing. It has been rushed, and I guess in my experience with the Ministry of Education, when there's new initiatives, they always seem to have really fast turnaround for reaction. It doesn't matter in terms of what the initiative is. This is over the years, we always seem to be grappling with change in education, and this is one of them. I do know that our staff has spent significant time to try to adjust to that timeline. So I know there have been weekend meetings, a lot of extra work on behalf of our Secretary Treasurer and his staff. on weekends and in evenings, and I know the superintendent and education people have been wrestling with this. And so I'm confident that around supporting special needs students, which we know we have significant number of new students, as well as a number of new teachers who will need new support provided in our school district. So I support that recommendation. I know that they have spent innumerable hours going over how can we support the new program for special needs students in the fall. What best way to spend a small amount of money, really given the extent of the budget, that would do the most to impact programs for our kids, and in this case, special needs students. We all wish we had significantly more money to devote to this area, but if we have a small amount, what is the biggest impact for that money? And I'm confident that they have totally discussed that and have come up with this direction. So I will be supporting the budget. Trustee Schmidt.
I acknowledge what staff has done. I know how hard the job is. But as a trustee, I have to make sure that I do my due diligence and do my homework, and I have to take it away from the table, and I have to make sure that I'm doing the right thing, and I have to, it's always been the way I've been with budget. You know, if I can redirect some dollars so that they're directly working with kids, by some creative bookkeeping and whatever, then I need to have the time to do that, and you know, I'm excited. I'm about to go and talk to some kids, and I want to hear what they have to say, and I need to make sure that as a trustee I've done my job and make sure that this is what's best for kids, for parents, and for staff. You know, the staff in our schools, staff here. Like I said, you know, I heard what was said to me on Tuesday, but I just need to make sure that I do the right thing for me and what I think is right. So I acknowledge the work staff's done. This is not a smack in the face to staff. It's just something that as a trustee I feel I have to do.
And we all support how individually we approach any topic, including this one on budget. Any further discussion on the motion on the floor to pass the budget as presented?
Second read.
At second readings, yes, thank you. All those in favor? Those opposed? There you go, I did it. The motion carries. Moving to adjournment. Moved by trustee DeGroot, seconded by trustee Thorne. All those in favor? Motion carries. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Good job.